Bad news for Lando Norris. After 2 seasons of a laid-back atmosphere at McLaren with Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo, the arrival of Oscar Piastri appears to signal a shift in the team's dynamic. The young Australian will be under tremendous pressure, but so will Lando Norris. So, how will this dynamic play out? How will it impact the team? And will Piastri live up to the hype? Let's look into it. Oscar Piastri signals a shift in team dynamics at McLaren. The Australian rookie is at a different stage in his career than Ricciardo, and will be looking to make a name for himself after being caught in a tug-of-war between McLaren and Alpine over his services in 2023. McLaren CEO Zak Brown is confident in Piastri's abilities, despite admitting that Norris is a difficult benchmark to beat. Brown stated about Piastri's prospects for 2023, "I don't have any expectations or set out this is what he needs to do by this date. But I think Lando is as fast as anyone in F1. I think in race-winning equipment, he'd be winning races. I think probably everyone would agree with that. So Oscar is going to have a teammate that's one of the fastest drivers in the world. But I fully expect Oscar in time to challenge." Piastri's arrival will almost certainly change the dynamic between McLaren's 2 drivers. While the gap between Ricciardo and Norris was obvious, with Piastri eager to prove himself in the sport, there's a real danger of the rivalry becoming bitter. In fact, it's Lando Norris who could be in trouble. Yes, the Brit has proven to be one of the best on the grid, but he should not take his position at McLaren for granted. Indeed, if Piastri can live up to his impressive junior career, the team's leadership could change sooner rather than later. But this isn't just a threat to Norris. As a midfield team, it's much more important for McLaren to satisfy both of their drivers. They can't put all their eggs in one basket, as Red Bull did with Max Verstappen, because every point counts in the fierce midfield battle. Piastri will be under great pressure in 2023. While Norris and McLaren will face some pressure, it is undeniable that the majority of the pressure will fall on the young Australian. As soon as McLaren decided to go through the hassle and expense of terminating the contract with Daniel Ricciardo, an 8-time Grand Prix winner, 1 year early, there was always going to be big demand on whoever took over from him. And the pressure arguably only increased when rookie Piastri was given the nod. Now Ricciardo's fellow Aussie comes into Formula 1 with a lot of promise. In fact, he's one of the most exciting F1 rookies yet, having won the Formula Renault Euro Cup, Formula 3 and Formula 2 titles in consecutive seasons. But the circumstances mean he won't be given as much leeway as most rookies. Sure, Ricciardo was underperforming, but McLaren went to the trouble of cancelling his contract and going to the F1 courtroom in a messy dispute with Alpine just to get Piastri. So while it would not be surprising if Piastri has work to do to reach Lando Norris's level, the overall situation means that he cannot afford to be anything less than a match for Norris from the start, or at least a significant step up from Ricciardo, or questions will be raised. McLaren is willing to take that risk. Signing any rookie is a risk, and some argue that choosing Piastri is a big one. McLaren is counting on a newcomer to succeed where Ricciardo failed, to deal with the demands of a competitive and historically significant team that comes with high expectations, to deal with being Norris's teammate, and to shake off any rust after not racing in 2022. All of this takes place in a context of limited pre-season testing, with Piastri only getting 1.5 days in McLaren's 2023 car. But this isn't groundbreaking. McLaren was well aware of all of this when it made its decision. It's still a human sport and there's never a guarantee for anyone. It doesn't matter if it's a driver in the car or for team members in the garage or on the engineering side, that you always perform at the same top level. Then McLaren team principal Andreas Seidel said, "I'm not naive in that way. Any driver maneuver has the potential to succeed or fail based on the individual and the circumstances surrounding them. Nothing is certain in Formula 1. Ricciardo's time at McLaren is a clear and relevant example of this. So no, this is not the easiest situation for Piastri to make his debut in. But this is Formula 1. When is something truly simple? McLaren was willing to proceed because the risk-reward ratio was perfectly acceptable, and it believes Piastri has a very high upside. For starters, Piastri's junior single-seater record is among the best, with a hat-trick of major titles. He is the most impressive feeder series talent to emerge in at least the last 3 seasons, according to Seidel. And the more McLaren has dealt with him, the more convinced it has become. After meeting him several times, having some dinners with him as well, getting to know him better as a person, seeing his personality and his character, I was absolutely convinced that he's a guy that fits very well into our team, said Seidel. He's hungry, he's full of energy, he has the right level of self-confidence, and at the same time, he's fully aware of the big challenges that are ahead of him. Piastri will not go into pre-season testing blind. Towards the end of 2022, he was driving McLaren's 2021 car. More importantly, he got behind the wheel of the 2022 car in the post-season Abu Dhabi test after McLaren approved his formal release from Alpine. This allowed him to get a feel for the current generation McLaren and work more closely with the team he'll be working with at Grand Prix this year, as well as an early opportunity to compare notes with Norris and assess how Piastri handles the demands of the MCL 36. Norris was unquestionably the better driver over 2 seasons alongside Ricciardo, and his convincing victory in that teammate battle undoubtedly influenced McLaren's decision that it needed a new driver. But with Norris operating at such a high level and being so well integrated into the team, Piastri couldn't ask for a more difficult test. McLaren, on the other hand, sees it as a positive. Oscar Piastri's impressive junior career is promising for his F1 journey. Piastri has long demonstrated impressive traits both on and off the track, and he will need to use all of them to be a success in F1. In the junior categories, he has at least demonstrated the ability to do so effectively. Though McLaren has been wise enough to recognize that no one can guarantee that this will translate at the highest level, Piastri appears to have all the necessary individual components to make himself a formidable performer. This will increase McLaren's confidence that Piastri will arrive as prepared as possible for the Bahrain Grand Prix. That increases the possibility of Piastri quickly demonstrating why McLaren put their trust in him, though they understand not to ask too much of him too soon. And Piastri understands this, and he knows that in order to succeed, he must at first put results aside and learn everything he can from his team and his highly competitive teammate. My 2023 goal is to learn as much as I can, said Piastri. I think there's a lot to learn in the world of F1, and I think, putting results aside, I think as long as I'm following everything as well as I can and learning as much as I can and doing everything in the correct way, then I think the results will come naturally. So, do everything the right way, start off on the right foot, and make sure I have some fun too. Piastri handled the Alpine situation very well. However, the pressure on Piastri's shoulders is not solely from his teammate and team, as the contentious manner in which he entered the sport will cloud some people's perceptions of him. Alpine initially announced the Australian as Fernando Alonso's replacement after the Spaniard confirmed his departure to Aston Martin. However, it was later revealed that the former Alpine junior had already signed a contract with McLaren to replace the struggling Daniel Ricciardo several weeks prior, with both teams then fighting it out in court in front of the FIA's Contract Recognitions Board, with the CRB ultimately ruling in McLaren's favour. Piastri claimed he told Alpine about his 2023 plans multiple times last summer, even before Alpine announced him as a race driver alongside Esteban Ocon. Alpine boss Otmar Szafnauer, on the other hand, fought back against the young Australian's version of events at every turn, even questioning his character. Betrayal was mentioned, and it has undoubtedly had a negative impact on the youngster as he takes the next step in his racing career. Brown, however, has praised Piastri for handling the controversy surrounding his future at the time, even in the face of what he perceived to be inaccurate comments and accusations from his former employers. Very focused, very mature, determined, doesn't seem to have a lot of ups and downs in his emotions, the McLaren CEO said. And I saw a lot of that during the turmoil over the summer. You know, he's a 21-year-old, and here you have a big OEM was making accusations and taking you to court, and then you have to be a pretty tough character as a 21-year-old to be unfazed by that. And he was, and he kept his head down, and I think he's going to let his driving do his talking. He didn't get into a war of words, even though Otmar said some very unpleasant and inaccurate statements. You know, Oscar didn't rise to that. Oscar Piastri will have a lot on his plate in 2023, and that's putting it mildly. But all signs point to the young Australian being able to handle the pressure and use it to his advantage. His junior record alone suggests this. And when you consider how he handled his controversial entry into Formula One, it's easy to see why Lando Norris may be concerned about his leadership position at McLaren. Of course, whether he can live up to the hype remains to be seen. After all, others with similar junior series success have failed. What are your thoughts on Oscar Piastri? Is he a threat to Lando Norris at McLaren? Please let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking it and subscribing. Be sure to click the bell icon to be notified of future uploads. Thanks for watching.